me a job, a loan officer job. They called it loan officer, or I think they still said loan originator, but loan officer.
Okay.
And in the state of Washington at the time, you didn't need a license to quote rates.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. This was what, 98 maybe?
98.
Okay. Wow.
I was
Good
under
guess.
working for a direct lender. So yeah, we're deep. Yeah, Washington State. We were there for about a year.
About a year.
And
Washington.
so when we got there, we had our last checks. We were looking for an apartment to rent, and I went into the boss's office.
Okay.
And he said, "Well, I can put you on a 3-month salary. I think it was like $2,500 a month. However, if you make any commission or close any loans, you get your salary. You don't get the commission.
Oh, okay.
Or you can go straight up commission, no salary. You make it or you sink or swim."
Gotcha.
Didn't think twice. You know what my answer was. I wasn't here to play. I'll take the full commission.
Boom, baby. Burn the ships, burn the bridges. Let's do it.
I didn't think twice.
Awesome.
I'm like, no. So right off the bat, my high school sweetheart since 9th grade, best friends with Heather, who we grew up with.
Okay. And she was dating the head honcho, right?
Hey, can we cut that name out too?
Which name?
Heather.
Yeah.
Yeah, just cut
I'll
the
make
name
note
out.
of that.
Meant to know. Sorry, I shouldn't have said. So I'll rephrase that just in case.
No, yeah, absolutely.
So
I agree.
my high school sweetheart / fiance, whatever at the time, best friend who we had grew up with,
Okay.
went to school with, the whole 9 yards, was the main processor. I don't know, what are you talking about? I'm like, of course I'm going full commission.
Absolutely.
And at the time, it was more like a call center.
Okay.
And you know what the loans they were doing at the time? Because values were low.
What were the
In
loans?
Southern California, they called them a 125 second mortgage.
125-second mortgage. What did that consist of?
This is when I learned about simple interest compared to credit card interest and stuff like that. It was, because people didn't have any equity to pull out. Credit card debt was high. So it made sense. So they offered a second mortgage where you can get a loan, a second mortgage, 25% more than what the value was. 125% over the value, or 25% over the value. So if you had 10 to 100,000 in debt, you're going to look at a principal and interest, possible tax write-off at the time, simple interest loan, put some money in the bank and save that 300, 500, 1,000 a month, and have everything paid off. Because when you paid that savings, you're paying off everything in a couple years.
Gotcha.
It was just smaller amounts, and there were less regulations on fees. There was a big company at the time who really did a lot of them. And what it gave me, because here's what happened too, is I didn't get taught nothing. They said, here's the best guy in the office. You get to sit next to him and observe.
So basically, you learned from experience, from what you saw, just being thrown to the sheet or to the wolves, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And that's where, to me, it was guidelines. I wanted to know why. So of course I could see the top guy. What is he doing? That's where I learned about the debt consolidation and one loan versus the blended rates, simple interest versus compounding revolving interest.
A lot of differences.
Even now, car loans used to be at one time simple interest, but they're not. Why? Yeah, they're amortizing it over a term, but if you pay extra, it goes to the interest first, not the principal. You're better saving your money separately, paying off your car next day with a payoff versus trying to pay a little bit each month to pay it off early, because all they're going to do is apply it to the interest first, because there's very little in there anyway.
Okay.
When you think about it. Well, not now with the rates right now. So
yeah,
and
rates,
car payments.
All that adjusted recently. Well, not recently, over time. They fluctuate from high to low, right? And so
I came from poor, so I knew, like, hey, I knew the value of dollar and hard work and stuff. So
okay, and so you were still in Seattle when you started working with one of the top dogs in the office, right?
Yep.
And
Bellevue, Washington, which is about 15 minutes from Seattle, just being
okay,
geographically
absolutely.
accurate.
Just in case somebody's lives in Seattle, they'll know exactly, or it's interesting to know geographically where people come from, where they've experienced life in, and that's awesome. So from Seattle, how long were you working for the company before you decided, you know what, I'm going to go back to Cali? Seattle's too cold for me. I want the sunshine.
Yep. And again, basically it went great because as soon as I was ready to be on the phones, you know what? Guess who hung out with us after work?
The head
Our
honcho.
our best friend, who was the main processor making that branch happen.
Nice.
Oh, this is a great. I have to get this story.
Okay.
So, because remember, I was 20 years old.
Young buck.
98. I was 20. I hadn't even turned 20. I turned 21 down there in Washington
Man,
working.
I was still sucking on the teeth at 20. Oh, I don't know if we can put that.
Oh
on.
yeah, and then all of a sudden, of course, we had our best friend hanging out with us, her and her child, and we hung out every night. We were all we had.
Okay.
You know, so and to be honest with you, coming from South Fontana, moving all over Fontana, really growing up, single moms, football, I needed a little help with my English skills.
Okay. So.
So I had the girls. Every night we hung out. Well, we were young too, partying or we're doing whatever. They would correct me on my English.
Your grammar?
Yeah, my grammar. And
okay.
So my grammar and instead of got, have, and all the, just being.
Yeah, no,
being a little more professional.
I got you.
So I can't admit, the football comes out of it,
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, but just the slang of what our time was.
Yeah, of course. So they wanted you to speak more properly.
I wanted that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I was like, lady, hey, I don't care. We're all hanging out. You guys correct me. And Heather was always correcting me because she's really smart, even though she never graduated.
Okay.
Still a very amazing person.
Well, you know what they say: the C students hire the A students, right?
Exactly.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I just had to throw that in.
Exactly.
Okay, so you're in Seattle. Boom, you're making the big bucks, right? You're hanging out with the big dogs. California. When did you have California in your sights again?
Of course, our best friend dating another, older man. It ended up drama happened, and we ended up leaving about a year later.
Oh, I want to know about the drama. What happened?
It was. She was like I said, she was dating an older man. My loyal, those were my ladies. I was protecting from our growing up, So I, of course, all right. If we're going back to Cali, I had to get my realtor's license to quote rate.
So you had a realtor's license before?
Correct, for years. So we all came. We basically packed up about a year later.
Okay.
And of course, my son's mom. She was on a salary, and of course, I was like, make my loads go down. So I was like a rookie, not knowing,
Yeah.
I figured out, okay, we need the paperwork. The paper trail is the key, But learning how to structure it right, it had a benefit. Anyways, we all came back home. We all started studying for our realtor's test. And I passed it. And then, so the company ended up leaving the company. I was more used to the call center at the time versus going out there and building your own brand and getting, referral business like us and, meeting other people. So I'm getting ready to go to the office, that market kind of died down. The loan stopped. You weren't allowed to do the second mortgage, so I had to get it more diverse. So I checked the mail.
You had to pivot with what was going on.
Yeah. So we're back home, and I go check the mail, and there's an envelope with $1 bill stapled to it.
Nice.
And I'm like, okay. Oh wait, let me back up.
Okay,
I got to tell you about when we're in what you're going to want to hear. I turned 21 in Washington.
Oh.
And everybody's all hyped up about Vegas, right?
Okay.
Well, I'm very used to Vegas and Lake Mead, growing up with my uncle out there.
Okay.
So
people in Seattle don't know Vegas like.
And the branch manager was super cool. Got to give him props. But he gave and the office was all young. Well, I was the youngest. We were the youngest. Me and my
Your high school sweetheart.
Yeah, my high school sweetheart and our best friend.
Okay.
We were the youngest, but it was still a young office. Everybody was in 20s and late 20s. So he goes, early 30. He goes, if we hit certain numbers, I'm gonna fly us all out to Vegas.
Whoa.
So so my first trip to Vegas, literally everybody's just working their butt off, of course. So we hit the numbers, and
Oh.
we go. Everybody's all gambling on their computer. We actually had even some computers where they play the gambling, and they were